Hello, good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here with our online audience and to be able to participate in this panel with my colleagues Gustavo Maierá, co-founder of Mesttra, and Ligia Maura, professor at the Getúlio Vargas Foundation in São Paulo. I want to thank the FIS and our colleagues at Johnson & Johnson Medical Devices for the invitation and for the opportunity to be here moderating this panel and sharing our experience. This panel will talk about ESG in healthcare. We're here to share a bit of our experience and results, and to initiatives in collaboration with Johnson & Johnson Medical Devices that have the purpose of fostering diversity, inclusion, and governance. I am Regiane Soccol. I work for Johnson & Johnson Latin America, and our mission is to strengthen the healthcare systems in the world, fully aligned with our purposes and values. At Johnson & Johnson, we combine our heart, science, ingenuity to change the trajectory of healthcare in the world. And this includes having a positive impact on our patients, consumers, and everyone that uses our products, be it directly or indirectly, as well as the health of our employees and the communities of where the communities around us and of the planet. As the biggest healthcare company in the world, we use our capacity to create partnerships, to create collaboration, to advance and to contribute solutions to some of the world's biggest healthcare-related challenges. Of course, we focus our efforts on where we believe we can make a difference as a company, where we're really able to promote an impact. These efforts are based on our priorities: environmental, social, and governance related, our ESG priorities, based on our values, our beliefs, and our purpose to change the health of humankind. We believe that good ESG practices foster the creation of value to internal and external players. It builds trust between the parties, mitigates risks, and promotes the involvement of everyone, including our employees, increasing productivity and reducing costs. Our ESG approach includes the creation of solid governance structures for effective risk management to create long-term value. It also includes offering innovative healthcare solutions for patients and consumers alike to improve everyone's health across the world. Investing in our employees, creating a diverse, equitative, inclusive workplace where everyone can collaborate, belong, and find growth opportunities. That also includes combining our experience and resources through partnerships and collaborations, as I said, to mitigate environmental impact, not only of our operations and products, but across our entire supply chain and in all of our relationships of collaboration and partnership between our companies. It's a pleasure to be here, as I mentioned, representing the family of Johnson & Johnson companies, especially the Johnson & Johnson Medical Devices in Brazil. And I want to invite our colleagues, Gustavo and Ligia, to tell us about the initiatives that I mentioned and to get us started. Ligia, we can start with you. Sure, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to be here with you and with Gustavo and to be able to tell everyone about our beautiful experience with the support of Johnson & Johnson, without whom we wouldn't have been to implement this initiative, which is a compliance initiative for the education of healthcare professionals. This initiative had a fundamental role, which was to cater to the UN Sustainable Development Needs, which emphasize education to eradicate poverty, reduce corruption, bribery, and to guarantee greater integrity. If we have all that, we're going to have much more prosperity for everybody. Since it's a common problem, we have to tackle it jointly, and hence the importance of a joint initiative. This joint initiative gathered together over 60 participants from several different sectors in the healthcare industry. We had people from the academia, professors from medical schools, we had lawyers. When it comes to compliance, and this is what we're going to talk about, the legal professionals have to get involved, as well as the main players of the healthcare industry itself, with healthcare insurance plans, hospitals, suppliers, the industry, of course, and the government. So we tried to gather these 61 main stakeholders in the industry, and the purpose of this initiative is to improve the performance of healthcare professionals, especially medical professionals. Of course, after creating the collective initiative, it was defined that a greater focus should be placed on physicians, because a survey was made in medical schools abroad and in Brazil to identify the scenario of disciplines related to compliance and fight against corruption in the medical schools, and then compare that scenario with the international scenario. Our survey went over 269 disciplines, and obviously we were focusing on Brazil and Latin America. Out of these 279, we selected only the ones from Brazil, and there were 149 disciplines from medical schools. And from those 149, we looked into 94 at greater depth. Many of them just mentioned the name of the discipline, but they wouldn't give the details of what exactly they were teaching our future physicians. And what we concluded was that it was that there was an absence of themes related to anti-bribery, anti-corruption in these disciplines. So young professionals that recently graduate did not have this type of education. So maybe these universities do not have to educate these professionals about these disciplines. Maybe these students already have that knowledge. So we did another survey with young students from the first year to the residency. And in that survey, we asked them a few questions. For instance, so let's say that you're a physician and you work at a hospital, and you know that another physician is deviating medicines to people that need them. Do you think that that is right or wrong? Or you're a physician and you're in the public or private healthcare setting, but there's a drug that's freely distributed to the population, and you decide to privilege your friends and family at the expense of the rest of the population, and there's a huge waiting list. So the result was that we see nepotism and other practices, and we see that students do not understand what integrity is about and what the ESG principles mean. So we decided to change that, because it was not simply about skipping lines. In our survey, it was very clear that that was what was at the base, and that had to change. And how can it change that? Well, through changing culture, and that's done through education. So with that, we set out to develop educational modules for medical schools so that the professors could start teaching these disciplines. So we developed 3 major modules about anti-corruption practices, compliance in health, and organizational culture in the healthcare setting. So these 3 modules were developed for professors. After that, we gave training to professors, and that was open to enrollments from the entire country to anybody who wanted to participate. We then trained 41 professors free of charge with the support of Johnson & Johnson, and we reached very positive results. The medical school of the University of São Paulo, for instance, has approved a special discipline about compliance. It's a multidisciplinary discipline that started in August. In addition to the University of São Paulo, there was also another university that created, based on a pre-existing discipline about medical ethics. They're now teaching corruption in healthcare, organizational culture, using the educational assets that we made available free of charge online. And the medical school of the ABC also taught a few lessons using those assets. So we have 3 successful examples that resulted from this initiative, and how to improve the education of healthcare professionals. And we're going to have a second that is also free of charge, and it's open to professors willing to get to know these materials better, and who are willing to get our suggestions as to how to teach these classes, and so that we can educate medical professionals that are concerned about compliance, about not skipping lines, and these practices that are unfortunately seen in the medical industry. So that's what I had, and thank you very much. Thank you again for the opportunity to be with you. Thank you, Ligia. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing such important elements from that initiative, this collective initiative and the survey that allowed you to analyze and define exactly what you wanted to do, so that by doing something that you're very clear as to why you're doing that and what you want to achieve, and so that you're able to achieve the objectives that you define. And another important aspect is that of sustainability. We have a huge concern in all of our programs in terms of fostering education and training healthcare professionals and the population in general when we talk about generation of knowledge and generation of content. And we want to make these materials available to everyone with no restrictions. Of course, many educational programs and some materials are, they focus on certain specialties and some professional categories. And when we set out to offer an initiative, to create an initiative, we have to think about the impact it will have. And you talked about that. These assets will be available. You'll be dealing with the education of professors who are professionals that are educating other professionals. And at the same time, you also let other educational institutions use those materials and apply them as they see fit, which was the case of the ABC University that you talked about, that used a different model than that used by the Mogi University and the University of São Paulo. And your invitation was also very pleasant to hear, because it's an initiative that is ongoing. And it had me thinking about the inclusion of other specialties or other professional categories, because when it comes to compliance in the medical sector, we can also consider other professionals in the healthcare setting that are part of a multidisciplinary team. And I also want to hear your take on that. If maybe other institutions that work with other professional categories, if they will be able to use the materials that you created. Well, that would be a pleasure. The initiative, we selected several subjects to work on, and we chose only 3 because it was a short lasting project, and it was a pilot project. So with the materials that have been proposed by the collective initiative, we can also develop new materials because the world is constantly changing. Ethics and the algorithms in the healthcare industry, well, that is a hot topic. The General Data Protection Law, which was also included, and it was one of the initially proposed themes, but it was not included in the end. So this initiative is open to the support of other companies, of course, with no problem. I'm sure it will be an honor to Johnson & Johnson to have other people help such an important initiative. And it's not only restricted to physicians. As I said, it's meant for any healthcare professional, healthcare management, any other professional from the healthcare setting, dentists. So, of course, it's in our best interest to change this situation, and that we change this industry, and changes can only come about through education. Thank you. Gustavo, I would like you to talk about the MilDevs initiative, please. Over to you. Thank you. Thank you, Regiane. It's a pleasure to be here, to be able to talk about a program that I really believe in. When Johnson & Johnson Medical Devices approached Mesttra, they defined this very important goal, which is social transformation. So we decided to work on providing greater access to information. And the name of the program is MilDevs, Talents in the Healthcare Industry. Its purpose is to include 1,000 software developers into the tech labor market, whether it is related to healthcare or not. So why did Johnson & Johnson decide that? When we assess ESG from a social perspective, it includes everything that companies do internally to support its collaborators, all of the initiatives related to respect to labor and internal capacity building, but it also involves the ecosystem where they're working. It's very good to see that Johnson & Johnson Medical Devices is also concerned about its ecosystem to a point where it creates programs to enable this access to education. So this program started long before at the beginning of the year with a planning phase, and it was launched with the purpose of giving support to youths in situation of social vulnerability. If you assess the social group that suffered the most impact with the pandemic, unfortunately, it's young people, because they're starting their careers. They do not have a lot of professional experience, so they do not have security at the workplace. So as you can see, the unemployment rates increased exponentially, and people from 18 to 25 years of age are among the most affected by the pandemic. So we created the program so that young people could study for free to learn how to develop software, and so that software could be freely used in the healthcare industry to tackle the challenges that we've been facing in the market. So we have to work on data analysis and big data, and people using our technologies, of course, can change the world. So we sent an invitation through some partners that support Johnson & Johnson, and around 1,000 youths enrolled in the program. the talent division at Johnson & Johnson gave us support throughout the process to really select the youths that would be most aligned with our program and that could benefit from it. The program is 300 hours long training in Python and also several classes related to expanding social abilities from changing your mindset and how to behave in job interviews. So it's a really good experience having this contact with them every night for 5 months, Monday through Friday. It's 3 hours per day where these apprentices can get connected online and they can also watch classes and do refreshment classes through some proposed exercises. So it's worth saying that this project is a project for the inclusion of young people, and we provide for a full diversity assessment throughout the training so that in the end of the training, we can bring them into the labor market and in an adequate manner. So from the perspective of ESG, we were able to include over 20 Brazilian states, and that's very good because the program was not restricted to the large cities. We had people enrolling from over 20 states with a huge participation of Blacks and Browns with 43% of participation in the program. So more than half self-identified as men and the rest as women. So we see that we made some progress vis-a-vis what we generally see across the educational institutions in Brazil. So this program is totally free of charge for apprentices, and it's very good to see that that is happening.
We are also very pleased to say that in spite of this huge challenge that we face every single day to support these learning opportunities, this is not just training in which we have a license, an online license for studies. This is an actual program with several participating companies, and we invite more and more companies and startups to be part of this program. More than half of our youth already has a sponsor or an ambassador, so to speak. They will probably finish their training between November and December, and 50% of them already have a work experience. In the next months, we are going to have certainly a larger number that will have finished the training. They will be ready to go into their job interviews and so forth. And we are also looking constantly at their satisfaction levels. We ask them from 0 to 10, what is the probability that you recommend this program to family and friends? And we've had a rating of 97. So our NPS is very high, and that shows that companies are really interested in reaching the satisfaction and satisfying these young talents. So it's a pleasure to be working every day with this program. Gustavo, I do know quite well this program, Talentos pro Bem, Talent for Good in JJ, which is our strategy of engagement and volunteer work. We invite all our collaborators, regardless of their position or of the area they work in. We invite everyone, all our collaborators, to share their knowledge and to, share their desire to have positive impact. So that connects the knowledge of our employees through mentoring, right? Just like you said, it's not a program in which you just provide classes or programming classes or technical knowledge classes. Of course, they do receive that as well, but it's also about developing other skills, other competences that are necessary in the labor market. Oftentimes people have the technical training opportunity, but for some specific reason, the person cannot find a job or, cannot find a position after a trainee experience. So I think that is a very important aspect, to have a 360 view for this youth, giving them the opportunity, providing the technical knowledge that they need, but also following up and providing mentoring and supporting them as they enter the labor market through these companies that sponsor these young talent. Can you tell us a little bit about this? You know, what is the difference that this makes both in their professional and personal lives as young adults? And also, if you could tell us a little bit about the challenges. Of course, we know that the tech university for large IT companies, but companies in general, I would say, they are searching for professionals in programming. Many companies tell us that they cannot find enough skilled workers. And here we have a program that is creating opportunities for young people in vulnerable positions to enter this part of the labor market. What are the challenges that these young people face? Is it having a computer? Is it having an internet connection? And how do you face these challenges and engage these youth? Yes, of course, Regiane. Speaking of mentorship, we look at that in several different ways. We can have an online survey. We have some synchronous moments, and mentoring. It is proven that it helps people progress in their journey. So young people need to be at least heard. And if they can be heard by people who are more seasoned than they are, they will have a mirror, you know, they will have an example, an inspiration. And that's what mentoring is about. JJ's volunteering program is really focusing on the social pillar and providing help to this experience that people have inside the group and sharing this experience and knowledge for people that are outside of the company. So we connect this program of internal mentoring, and several JJ employees got together with some specific talent and having meetings with them, just literally chatting, explaining how things work in the labor market, what are the challenges, and what it takes to maybe face these challenges, maybe giving them ideas and information that will help them have an easier journey. Of course, the challenges throughout the journey are huge. And, you know, we tackle one objective or one obstacle at a time. Right in the beginning of our planning meetings, we knew that the journey ahead was long and quite complex. But since our goal is to help more people, it's all worth it, of course. So I think that the characteristic of this program, which is something that unfortunately, we cannot provide them a scholarship, but at least we offer free education. Of course, if we could provide scholarships, that would be better. Another challenge is access to technology, you know, having access to computers, having access to Wi-Fi networks. Of course, we can start using telephone lines, but still we need a work tool. We need a keyboard and a mouse to train codes and algorithm. Around 20 to 25 young people told us we don't have the tools, the material to study, and we made this connection and we managed to bring computers to people who did not have access to them. And we are constantly looking at adding more support, internet connection for those who say they have no access to the internet. So I think that young people in a vulnerable situation, they need to look for a job. They need to find a job, need access to higher education. We provide this possibility, and we have the synchronous moments, we have live meetings. And I think that another challenge is to keep the young generation engaged. We really have to understand how to work with this young generation. And the tool is being provided. We are constantly watching them to understand how they are engaged, either in live streams or in the asynchronous moments when they're working by themselves. It's very nice to see the comments about the program, because they always tell us, you know, the attention and the support you give us, we haven't seen this anywhere else. But I think that the challenges are mostly connected to computers, to internet connection, to access to university, and access to job opportunities. Someone might have began going to college, and this has an impact in their performance in the program. But we constantly ask them so that we can try to solve their problems or help them solve their problems. And of course, managing anxiety and stress. Right in the first day, they are concerned, what am I going to do in the last day of the program? And we say, wait a minute, take it easy, one step at a time. Let's do this together. Thank you, Gustavo. Ligia, I want to give you back the floor back, and I invite you to talk about something that Gustavo mentioned regarding this younger generation. If we think of ESG principles, you know, they're in the news, they're in the spotlight, and everyone's talking about ESG. Whenever you create a new product, we discuss the purpose behind the product, and people choose brands in the purchasing moment. They think about this type of information, of course. So I wanted to connect that to compliance, governance, and ethics in the health sector. The young generation who's currently in universities, and even new universities, we have many new health colleges coming up in Brazil. Do you believe that this scenario makes it favorable to discuss this with young people so that they are better prepared and better trained to discuss ESG topics and maybe be more aware of them, of these topics? Certainly. Certainly, the change we see currently with, you know, better acknowledgement of social aspects, governance, and sustainability. This is really important. It's important not just for the finance sector. ESG comes originally from the finance area, but it has an impact in the whole chain, including the health sector. When we speak about compliance to physicians today, this used to be something new, and it's a different experience. And we've seen that oftentimes physicians, they don't know what compliance is about. Medical students don't know what compliance is about. Medical students, in our survey, when we ask young students, we ask them, if a pharmaceutical company pays to you for you to attend a congress with your wife, 70% say, yes, I will take the invitation. And we say, no, you cannot do that. There's no free lunch. So it's important to have this training. We've done a very deep survey in Brazil. These new medical schools are still talking about ethics and bioethics. And this is really important, of course, but these new courses, they are not talking to the young generation about problems that they will face as soon as they get their diploma. We live in a country where corruption is systemic. We need to prepare the young generation of physicians and the young generation of health professionals so that they can be more ethical, and so that they know how to react to these situations, so that they know what is right and what is wrong. If you have a relative and you have them skip the line in a health service, this is wrong. You know, to privilege a relative when there's a line to get a vaccine, a COVID vaccine, this is wrong. And people don't even know. They don't even know this is a, you know, this is a subject, this is an issue. We did this question. I give you money to attend a congress, but you're going to have to buy my product. And then they start saying, well, I don't think this is right. But I think that the major problems they will face, you know, are not situations that are as clear as that. You know, some things are more veiled. I'm going to give you a gift and you don't need to give me anything back. It's not true. We know it's not true. And we have to teach students how to identify these situations. Hence, the importance of this program And hence my invitation to professors in medical schools to please read this material. It's free of charge and it's very well designed. We have many cases and it's really updated. You can have access to this material online. So from all regions of Brazil, any medical college can use this. Medical schools do not necessarily have material about compliance in their libraries, and now they do have access to this material online. And it's free of charge precisely because we want to have access to more people and contributing to a better world based in ESG criteria. I hope I did answer your question. Is there a website that people can access to have more information? Of course, I imagine that you will share this information after our panel and people can find this on LinkedIn probably. But is there a website that people can access? Yes, of course. Thank you for your question, actually. It's called Compliance for Health. It's written Compliance for, the digit 4, Health. And the whole material is available free of charge. And it was developed by 61 professionals. It's an amazing work. Great. Compliance for Health, and 4 is the digit. Thank you very much, Ligia. Gustavo, I have a similar question to you. Companies that are interested in supporting the young people because they're finishing their training cycle, right? And I think that we can invite other companies, different companies, regardless of their size and regardless of their area, companies that want to provide a work opportunity for young people to participate in the labor market. What's your recommendation? What can a company do if they want to get to know more about the program, to maybe support the program somehow, or to support young people who are part of the program? Or maybe other companies or other young people that still need support in their professional development journey. You're on mute, Gustavo. Can you hear me now? We don't have audio from Gustavo. The booth apologizes. Can you hear me now? Okay, now we hear you. Well, I wanted to mention that this is an ecosystem. It's not an isolated initiative. We have invited many companies to be part of that with us. So as a first step, companies that wish to provide a social inclusion opportunity for young people, they don't have to pay anything. Just Google Talento para o Bem, Talento para o Bem. It means talent for good in Portuguese. And there are several websites where you can know more about the program, and you can register to contribute. You can either provide a trainee experience, a 3-month internship for these young people. And also, we can say that our goal is to reach 1,000 software developers. So we invite more and more companies to support this program and to make this ecosystem evolve. Because the challenge is here. There is unemployment and there are many people needing skilled workers. So we need to make the connection, and that's what we're here to do, to make the connection happen. Great, Gustavo. Unfortunately, we are out of time. We have 2 minutes before we finalize, and I really want to thank all the organizers of this event, sharing this information. And this is information that can actually transform people's lives. So I invite everyone that was here today, please share this information so that these experiences can reach more and more people, because we are talking about experience and knowledge that is capable of including young people, developing young people, and increasing ethic, compliance, and governance practices that we have in the health sector. So thank you. Thank you all for joining. Gustavo, any final remarks? Thank you. Thank you very much for the opportunity to share this with you. Ligia? Integrity and ethics means health. I think that's my final comment. And, you know, we can reach health if we have education. Thank you. Thank you very much. It has been a pleasure to have you here as real human examples that through joint efforts, we can really make a difference and change the world we live in. I hope that other people will join this work so that we can follow this journey of transformation and of positive impact. I hope that we will leave a positive legacy to everyone. Thank you very much once again.